Hey, everybody, you are enjoying so many sequels today. I'm Josh.
I'm Andrew.
That's a mighty big assumption you made there, Josh.
That they're enjoying it?
Yeah.
Well, they are now. We've not yet given them a reason to not enjoy it. We
Right.
might give them one, but as of right now, they're still enjoying themselves.
That's
Yeah,
true.
you're still enjoying it from the last time you were listening to it.
Yeah.
Carry it over. Carry it over into this.
Carry the
Booyah.
one. Carry the one.
And to introduce myself, I'm David.
I never said me, but I'm Garrett.
And now the order's all
Yeah.
screwed up, and now
Who are
they're
you?
not enjoying themselves.
No.
So we're in our second week of our Halloween spooktacular month. I don't
No
know why
rules in
that's what
October.
I always call it, but I always call it that.
Yeah.
I think it's a great name. I think I come up with great names. Some of the best names ever.
Yeah. A lot of people are saying
Many
that.
people tell me that. Many people say that.
Do you have
And
the best words?
I think I have the best words personally, and I've been told that by many people. People you may know. People you may know.
Yeah.
So we're calling it that
Excellent
because
people.
that's what I'm calling it. The best people. Last week we kicked off the month with. Oh, I know what you did last summer. I completely forgot. I spaced.
I know what you did last summer.
I know what you did last summer. The
We
90s
know
slasher
what
film.
we did last week. We promise.
And then today we're going to cover was this movie out in 2003?
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
A 2003 film called Identity,
Mhm.
starring John Cusack, Ray Liotta, Amanda Peet, Dr. Kelso, and some others. Oh, Alfred Molina, who was always just Doc Ock to me.
Yep.
But so we covered
Rebecca
that this.
De Mornay.
We're going to talk about that
Mhm.
this week. That was David's suggestion for the wheel. We all threw out two movies and we're spinning, and that was his. I know I have a lot of thoughts about this movie. I suspect many others all do as well. My first thought that I will kick things off with is I do not think this is a Halloween film.
No. I don't know if it's quite a Halloween movie, but it's closer to that than it is others. Not
Fair.
a Christmas movie.
So, since this was your pick, why don't you kick off by telling us your thoughts of this movie after I assume this is like the first time you've seen it in a while.
Yeah, I would say probably since like 2004, 2005. Caught this movie on TBS or something like that when I was a young kid. And,
let me interrupt real quick to say,
to be honest,
I know. Do you hear me? Okay, the connection's
Yeah, I
been
hear
weird. I don't know. Okay, I was just gonna say I know this is an old movie,
I'm sorry.
but it's very twist heavy. So I want to put like we are gonna spoil some big twists in this movie. So even though it's old, I don't think it is super well known. So if you don't want to be spoiled by it, don't listen because it really would ruin the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's my spoiler thing.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And if you guys are having trouble hearing me, let me know.
Yeah,
I think I might be
spotty
having
there,
some internet
buddy.
issues over here.
Yeah,
You're a little
there's some
spotty.
internet.
Oh, man. I'm not sure what I can do. Let me pull this out. So I haven't seen this movie in a while. I remember seeing it on TV, and I remember the twist kind of surprising me at that age, just because I didn't, like when you see something on TV, you're not as invested in it. So when something crazy or different happens, you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. But having not seen it for a while, I kind of put it on the board, even though I thought this movie's probably not going to be as good as I remember it being. But I was actually kind of surprised because I thought, for me knowing the twist going in and watching, I was like, it's actually kind of it's fairly engaging for the most part. And I think that where they place this the actual the real is early enough that it's not as unsatisfying as it could have been. If like the last 2 minutes of the movie were this big reveal, and I'll just kind of skip to it with John Cusack in the chair. Like if that was the last 2 minutes of the movie, it would feel like an FU. But because that happens with like 20 minutes to go, it's kind of like, oh, like I kind of watched. I was like, oh, that kind of changes the dynamic of how the rest of the story plays out because now you have different stakes. Whereas last week we watched a movie, I know what you did last summer, where we talked about how it didn't really do anything to reinvent the premise of a slasher or a mystery horror type movie. I feel like this at least makes the effort to subvert your expectation and do something a little bit different. Even if it doesn't fully become, it may not be fully satisfying for others, but I think that there's at least something to be said about the effort of, hey, what if we do a movie that is basically an homage to And Then There Were None, or that tradition of the Christie style horror mystery or murder mystery, but we do it in a way that it turns out it's actually all taking place within somebody's head. How would, like, let's get creative with it. So I think that aspect of it, I appreciate. It kind of even makes it kind of like in a weird way, it makes up for any of the logical leaps that exist within the genre. Cause it's like, of course there are logical leaps. It's not actually happening. It's happening within someone's head. So I think that was really cool. It's not very scary in the sense. And that was part of my problem. I couldn't remember if it was scary or not. There were a few moments that did frighten me, but mostly because I completely forgot about them. John C. McGinley, he gets run over, and I completely forgot about that aspect of the movie. So I genuinely shouted, "Oh my God!" because I didn't know that was going to happen. But I don't know. I think that compared to what we watched last week, it kind of fits into the narrative we've been doing, which is we've come upon, which is sort of and being creative. That's all I was saying. So I enjoyed it for the most part.
Okay. I think we.
I don't know if any of that got through.
I think we lost pieces of that, but
Dang.
it is what it is.
I think the majority of it's out there. So
Yeah. Okay. So I will go next and say that I'd never seen this movie before. So I had no idea what to expect, and I tried not to read much about it. All I did find out was that I did know going in that it was kind of loosely based on And Then There Were None, which is a book I've never read, so that didn't really help me too much. I just kind of had that idea. So it starts out really hard to follow, I thought. There's a lot of jumping around in time that kind of screwed with my head in ways that I didn't really understand the purpose of. And looking back on those things, I still don't really understand the purpose of them, but I'm not too upset that they're there. It just made it initially hard to follow for me. But once things started going, when everyone was kind of centrally located at the motel, it started to make more sense to me. And that's when I started to get on board with it. And I liked the whole murder mystery aspect of each character slowly getting picked off by some mysterious figure or being or force, something. So that was pretty cool. What made it a little less exciting to me was, so I will not claim that I saw what was coming. I did not guess the twist, but I could tell that something was very wrong, and I wish that they had done a little bit more to hide that better. The way that they all ended up at the same place, there was no route of escape. All the roads in every direction were flooded, and none of the phones worked, and the storm never ended, was like a pretty early indication to me that this is not as it seems. Something is not real world about this, but I don't know what. I had a lot of thoughts of are they already dead and they're in some version of hell or a purgatory or a limbo? But I don't believe they're on this plane of existence. So I wish they could have hidden that a little better, but it was fine. Now, there's really two major twists in this movie, and I hated both of them, to be quite frank. The first one was when it is revealed that all of these characters are multiple personalities within this Malcolm Rivers character, who is a real world person, who's on death row for murder, essentially. And his doctors are trying to prove that he did not do it. Another personality in his brain did it. And the whole purpose is, if he can kill that personality, then the threat will have been eliminated and there's no reason to put him to death. I did not like that twist because the second I found out that the characters I've been following for an hour and 15 minutes were not real, I did not care about them anymore. Because the stakes were lower for me. And I was like, they're not real. I don't care. And then on top of that, I really don't care about Malcolm Rivers because I don't know who he is. He's this last character kind of thrown in there, and I don't have sympathy for him because I don't know who he is. All I know is that he's a murderer, and I don't have a lot of sympathy for that. So I was like, I don't really care if he kills the personality or not. But I was like, okay, I'm going to try to keep going here, but it's really hard for me to care. And I know we've talked about it briefly, but I know that Garrett has an idea about why it was still worth caring about. That is worth exploring. But where I really was like, fuck this, was when it was revealed that Timmy was the murderer the whole time. And I honestly could not think of a dumber ending to a film in my life.
Yeah, that was the I know what you did last summer.
Yeah.
Still showing up at the very end. You know, that was the kind of twist you expect. And that's why I'm kind of glad it was at the very end versus the other one, because the other one at least is like, okay, that changes the dynamic of the new movie. Whereas it being Timmy, if they had done that part first, it would have been like, oh, well, that's stupid, and you would have checked out hard.
It's a pretty short movie at like almost exactly an hour 30. So maybe if they had added more time and kind of give us more time with Malcolm, I might have cared for him more. But I just didn't care about him. And then that whole like ending that movie on whores don't get second chances was laughable. Yeah. So those are my thoughts. Andrew, you're next.
So there was some. Oh, the hell with it! I didn't like this movie. I really didn't.
Now, did you never like it? Because I liked it up till the point.
So did you never fell asleep during the part where it was good, though?
That's true.
To be fair, Andrew fell asleep during the part where it was good.
I was getting to that.
I bet you were.
I did fall asleep more than once.
You got to get Andrew a fresh pot of coffee on these events.
There's nothing you can do. You can shoot him literally with a Red Bull in his veins and he'll fall asleep. You cannot keep the man awake after 9 o'clock. It is impossible.
You guys watch this at 9 o'clock in the evening?
Yes, David, I told them both. I said, listen, this is a movie that y'all are going to have to pay attention to because there are some twists. And I will give Andrew credit where credit's due. He did his like.
Andrew,
he was really trying to watch. And then I look over again and he's just.
You got to do what I do, Andrew. You got to get you a chair like this that you can't fall asleep in.
No. I would fall asleep in it anyway.
You come sit in this chair.
Fall asleep in a garbage bag.
This is an office chair with no arms and like limited back support. You won't fall asleep, and if you do, you'll fall out. But you're also accustomed to falling down while sitting down. So like
metal folding chair is what he needs.
Yeah. Anyway, tell us about the movie.
What do you remember?
What part you saw?
I thought that it was. I think there was an interesting. The only thing I really found interesting about it was the introduction of all the characters. I liked how the characters were introduced. Did I like how they interacted? No. Didn't care how they interacted. And I think the reason I was falling asleep was because I was bored.
You fell asleep during a Star War. You're not bored.
No.
You may have been bored, but that's not the reason.
I fell asleep during the Star Wars movie because I was jet lagged.
Yeah.
So there's a difference. But like, but no, I was falling asleep because I was bored. Like there was, like the twists that were going on were not like, oh my God, I was looking for something that was kind of maybe, I want to say that this movie was trying to be as Alfred Hitchcock as possible. And I don't think it was quite hitting the mark. And it's a shame because I like James Mangold. I think he actually does really good movies. I mean, he's done several favorite movies of mine, especially in the last couple of years. But this movie, I will say, it was not a good effort by him. And I didn't really care for the last, like the twist ending of the kid being the killer. I think that gave away everything. I think it gave away way too much. I think it explained too much when it shouldn't have. And if you're going to make it a mystery, leave some of it to figure out yourself. And this movie did none of that for me.
That's fair.
And I'll give credit to where it's due. Some of the performances in this were very good. I genuinely like John Cusack. I think John Cusack's a good actor. I just and I'll even say Ray Liotta, even though he has not been doing very well lately. So there's that. That's all I got to say about that.
All right, and last but not least, or maybe least.
Definitely least. 100% least. David, you and I are the only two that had seen this movie, and I forgot how much I enjoy it to a point. There's a point where it veers, but going through it from my memory, and I'm not a huge fan in general of these everything is in my head twists after they happen. Look at things like Secret Window, even Shutter Island to an extent, because when you know the twist, it makes the movie not as good as that first time it happened.
Yeah.
And I really only feel that with this because throughout my notes, and I'm going to pose a couple of questions to Josh and Andrew, I was able to pick up on a lot of things, and I'm wondering how you interpreted them and if it made you see the movie differently than me. But I genuinely didn't think that this was a Halloween movie, and I think that there is a small argument that it could be made a slasher movie at the beginning. I mean, a woman's severed head was found bouncing around in the dryer. That is something that happens in a slasher movie.
That is a horror element. There was a baseball bat shoved into Jake Busey's face.
Exactly. So there are very decent horror elements. I still lean in the camp just because of the twist that it's not a Halloween movie. But watching this, I in my notes I said the first kill has changed my opinion in that I do think that you can make an argument for this to be very slasher movie vein, and I like this movie because I've seen a lot of the movies where they go, it's all in your mind kind of a twist, and this is really the only one that I've seen that's like this, and so I like it and I give it credit for that, which I very much enjoy.
And I'll say that those parts were what were actually in my head when I first made the recommendation. That was what I remembered was, you know, her in the rain under this thing, and then her head, and then Jake Busey's whole situation, the way that the boyfriend gets killed, where he's banging on the door for her to come out, and then there's a pause, and then he's banging on the door to get in. Like, those were the things that stood in my memory as like, yeah, I remember being kind of freaked out by that as a kid. It was very spooky, but I didn't remember a lot of the other contexts. Sorry, Garrett, go ahead.
No, that's fine. And since you brought up the second kill, the boyfriend, that's one of the things that I put in my notes is I know that when he pauses and then he starts screaming again, it comes across as like one of those jump scary things where like, okay, he's quiet and the girl gets closer and closer and then he starts banging on it again. Andrew, Josh, did you think that he was being killed in that moment, or did you think that he was just trying to get her to open the door?
I thought he was being killed.
I thought he was being killed too.
Okay, so that was one of the ones that I was curious about. The other one is going back and forth with everything at the motel and the lawyer scenes. Because at the very beginning of this movie, the background that they give you is Malcolm Rivers. Mm-hmm. But it's so subtle, and I wish they wouldn't show you Malcolm, because that sucks the fun out of it. Because they show you Malcolm at the very beginning, and then you don't see him again. And you're thinking, what? Who was this dude at the beginning? And so I was curious if when they were cutting back and forth, if you thought that or Jake Busey's character was the one that they were trying to stay or not.
No.
Because they'd introduced this idea of a prison transfer at the beginning of the movie, and then here happens to be a prisoner in transfer.
Exactly.
I never
That's
thought
sort
that
of
Jake Busey's character was the killer. At no point.
Okay.
I thought that would be too easy.
Okay.
I agree.
Well, you never thought he was like the killer that was killing them, or did you think that because like part of me, again, knowing, and maybe I was just thinking too much because I knew how the movie was going to go, because part of me thought, okay, they're setting this up for the lawyers to be discussing Jake Busey as the insane one, but they're all being stalked by another killer. And so I didn't know if that was a way that you guys may have taken it or not. So I wanted to ask.
No, I just didn't take that bait. I just never believed that was the case.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. I was just curious. As far as the twist of everybody being in their head, again, when it first happens, I enjoy it. And honestly, I enjoyed it for this one, mostly because it was different. I liked that they didn't follow the regular stereotype of you find out that everything's in your head at the end of the movie and that's it. I like that they pulled out one of those characters and talked to the character and said, listen, this is what's going on. You have to make sure the killer does not survive. And so now, for me, that changes the entire structure of the movie where we know what's going on, but now we live in this real supernatural thing where these personalities can do anything and anything is possible. And so while they may not be real and they may not matter, to me, it's still very interesting because now I just want to know what happens. I want to know who's going to survive. I want to know who's going to be the killer. I want to know if John Cusack's going to be able to convince Amanda Peet that she is not real. I want to see all of that. And I just think that it takes it to a different level of these kinds of movies that we've never seen it before. And I really enjoy that. Where it does lose me and really just kind of sucks it is when that little boy is the killer. And I get that it ties in with Malcolm Rivers as a kid who had a troubled childhood and, you know, it makes sense from a story perspective, but I don't like it. I almost think that it would have been more fun had when Amanda Peet's character at the end was digging in the dirt with her trowel, she found some kind of like skeletal hand or something. And then she just kind of smiles. And then we have some kind of like look back and we find out that the land that she bought was the land that she was taken from and where her parents and whatnot were killed or whatever. I think that would have been a little more interesting because really the kid being the killer just sucks all the fun out of it. And it really makes it cheesy.
Yeah, I feel like they were like, well, this is the most obvious, so let's just do it. I don't know. I will say that for me, yeah, you're right, Gary. It takes that struggle and takes it and removes it from the expected to now it's like an inner struggle. Now it's a struggle within this guy's head. And it's weird to say because are the characters not real? Because the doctor even makes the argument, all of these personalities resurge in this person. Like I've talked to this one, I've talked to that one. You can listen to the interviews and they say different things. There are distinct personalities within this individual. He's mentally unstable, you know? So like they are in a sense real inside of him, but but obviously they have fabricated backgrounds that he, you know, sort of created for himself. I think it's an interesting idea. I too have my problems with it because, like I said, the reason that it stood out in my brain was I was like, you know, an interesting scary film that I never heard anybody talk about was this movie I watched a long time ago, and I even had to look up the title. I didn't remember it right away, but I remember the image of like the baseball bat. I remember the image of the guy banging on the door, all that stuff. And I kind of vaguely remember the image of the kid slapping the trowel in his hand. But I think you're right, Josh. I think maybe like an extra 15 minutes or so could have really given them even more to explore with the real world component of this guy struggling to integrate these different personalities and try to eliminate them so that he can avoid. And he doesn't even seem to have a full comprehension of avoiding death row, which is, I guess, is a part of the point they're trying to make. Is you can't put someone to death that doesn't understand why they're being put to death. It's just the idea that that's morally unethical. So like it's an interesting concept, and I feel like it hangs on. And I said I appreciate that they introduced that with a little bit to go. Maybe they could have even introduced it a little bit sooner, giving you a little bit more time to breathe on that because of how different that makes what your end goal is. Because it's not so much about, can X and Y survive? It now becomes about, can this man save himself by eliminating the murderous tendencies of his past? Feel bad for the guy. The dude's got 3 criminal personalities within him. Apparently, he's got Jake Busey, Ray Liotta, and this kid that he's got to contend with.
Yeah, I think at 90 minutes, they could afford to add a little more without upsetting people. There's room for this movie to be a little bit longer and offer some of that. But ultimately, I think this Malcolm Rivers character, the reason why he doesn't work well for me is probably because he lacks a personality of his own. And so it is extremely hard to invest yourself in him as a character when you don't know who he is.
Well, and I think they could have changed that by give me the twist up front. Tell me immediately who Malcolm Rivers is, and then have a conversation with Malcolm of, this is your final chance to save yourself, and you have to rid yourself of this killer's personality. And then that all of this is taking place in his head, but you still don't know who the killer is, so you don't lose anything. Everything could have been the same, and you would have known that this man is trying to find out, because he doesn't know. Well, he might, but he doesn't genuinely know. So he's trying to figure it out. So he brings all his personalities to this hotel, just like he does in the movie, with us not knowing, and they work it out in the same fashion. They die one by one. You don't know who it is. Everything happens. The end is the kid still, which would suck, but this way, everything that's going on in his head. You feel a little bit more sympathetic towards Malcolm because you are presented this, and you know that he's real sympathy for him without taking anything away of what we got during the whodunit murder aspect.
I do want to give an element of praise to Pruitt Taylor Vince, who plays Malcolm Rivers, because there is a sequence in the movie when the twist is sort of made its most present, when the character is like, at one moment John Cusack, and then he's also Pruitt Vince, cutting back and forth between like whose face it is, and who's seeing that performance from both perspectives. And he did this really interesting thing with like his eyes, where they would like shift back and forth in his head, like he was data reading.
A lot of people have the ability to like make their eyes vibrate, and
like,
I'm wondering if he
wobbling in his head. And I was like, wow, that's really disturbing to look at. I was actually glad when he rolled in. I was like, well, that's cool, because it's between him and John Hawkes, who played the guy who was running the motel. I was like, oh, we've got a couple of Deadwood alums in this movie. This is great. I thought all of the performances, to kind of move to a more like, craft style talk. I thought all of the performances were pretty good, pretty accurate. I thought that at times but again, that's something that you can kind of write off to the idea that they're not meant to be fully fleshed out. They're meant to be sort of like these 1 to 2 dimensional characters that these personalities that this man's created. I thought that the suspense was good. I thought that they held that pretty well at times. I'm trying to think of another aspect to talk about. Anybody else?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it was well made, and I mean, Andrew took a dump on James Mangold at the beginning of this, but I think the directing was fine. My issues with the movie lie in the script alone, which was not his fault. I think I do, and I have issues with some of those flashbacks too in the beginning, but it's forgivable.
Yeah, the shifting perspectives. Yeah,
but it's the motel was scary throughout. The storm was pretty foreboding and scary. So the element of fear was well made and well translated, I thought. So I have no issue with the directing per se.
I think stylistically, I think it's pretty good. I think it's okay. Like, you can take away from a lot of it. Like, it's an honest effort. It's an honest effort. And there's not much, I want to say there's probably not much intrigue here in the mystery. There's enough to generate some interest, but not a lot.
What do you mean by that? Because I don't understand what you mean. Did you predict this whole entire movie? Because if you do, you're a liar.
No.
So, like, what are you saying? There is no mystery. I don't understand.
My thing is that, like, it's, after a while, it just gets kind of predictable almost.
But did you predict it?
No, I didn't predict it.
Well, then it's not predictable. What you talking about? I'm trying to understand, but I don't.
Okay.
like we were even talking about earlier, like how it follows the tropes of a murder mystery with some scarier elements, but then it subverts that by being completely outside of that initial premise.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're saying like the murder mystery component that they were going with up until they sort of up until things get weird and like bodies just start disappearing. Like, if you're like, that part's predictable, I'll give you that. Kind of follows the line that you expect a murder mystery to have. One person dies, another person dies, another person dies. Oh, this person went away for a minute, now they're dead. Like, I get that, but then it kind of doesn't go where a traditional movie like that would go with, which is like, it comes down to a big showdown between the final two.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I'm going with that. But like the last third act of the movie, it's just like, why? Like, I just don't. It got to the point where I just don't care.
Yeah, I stopped caring a bit too when it was revealed that they were personalities in the head. I think where the mystery part kept me was, I can't identify exactly when it happened, but at some point I was thinking, I don't think any of these people are the killer. I was like, I still believe something is not right. This is not a real world in some fashion. And I think the killer is some kind of supernatural or other related being. And I contend that that's kind of true. Because one, they made the Timmy kills so damn silly that they're just silly. And two, it kind of is, an otherworldly being is what killed them. It was Malcolm in his head killing them off one by one. So that's where the mystery kept me intrigued, is I was like, I don't believe any of these people are killing each other. So who is doing it, or what is doing it? I just wasn't happy with what I found out. But the mystery part was fine.
That's fine. I had a feeling because I did remember the twist. I remember those specific elements, those specific scary elements, and I remember the twist. And I remember, I think I even said it when I put it on the wheel. I was like, you guys will either like this or you will hate it. I think it was. I think if you look at the Rotten Tomatoes critical consensus, it even says, Identity is a film that will divide audiences. The twists of its plot will either impress or exasperate you. And I was like, yeah, that's how. And I read that before we went live, and I was like, I feel like that's going to happen. It's either going to be 50-50 down the line for this review, or maybe we'll get lucky, or more than likely it'll be like 1 in 4. Anything
That's all
else,
I got.
Garrett?
No, I mean, again, I do think that this is a fun movie. I quite enjoy it. I always have.
Mhm.
You just have to accept that you will be disappointed at the end. But what leads up to the end, I think, is very fun and very intriguing. It's not a movie that I would recommend you watch very often, only because I have my thing about knowing how the twist is, and that sucks a lot of fun out of it for me.
Yeah, I think
it
you had
can
to
still
find
be.
something.
It's even knowing it this time though. It's been, I don't know, probably since 2013 or 2003, even longer than I thought. So it's probably been since 2003 that I've seen it, and so it's not as fresh in my brain. Even though I know what the twist is, I don't remember the parts of it, and so I can appreciate the parts, even if I'm let down by the final twist.
Yeah, I think you have to find something different to appreciate when it comes to a movie that like really relies on its twist. Because you can have a twist ending that's really good, and you go, "Oh, that really changes things, and it makes it more interesting." But sometimes if you put too much on a twist, then it's like, oh, you kind of can't watch the movie and feel any excitement in the buildup. Here, I was kind of watching just to kind of appreciate the way up, and kind of hope that I was going to be okay by having put this on the wheel. I don't think I end up being very justified at the end, but
No.
but hey, you know what? It helped me because I'm trying to watch all of James Mangold's movies in preparation of the eventual Indy 5, so it helped me in that respect.
And I got to watch a movie I'd never seen before, so it helped me in that respect.
Exactly.
I don't know that there's another scenario where we would have watched this obscure film.
Right. And hey, you know what? It's an original, for the most part, movie. It's an homage to And Then There Were None, but it's not like a strict adaptation. It's original movie, original concept, and pretty good cast.
Yeah. Well, and how about that soundtrack, Andrew, from MCU alum Alvin Silvestri?
Not bad.
Alan. I don't know how you say it.
Alvin.
I just saw his name in the credit and I was like, I know that name from somewhere. And he's like done a lot of the MCU movies as well as Back to the Future and Forrest Gump.
Yep.
And
We've done
Super
quite
Mario
a few
Brothers.
Silvestri films.
We have.
It was all right.
Didn't he do some work on the Lord of the Rings movies too?
No, that's Howard Shore.
Maybe I'm remembering somebody else. Oh well.
Okay, well, let's talk about, I guess, the box office history of Identity.
Yep. We'll launch right into it here. So, Identity, interestingly enough, wasn't an October movie. It debuted April 25th in 2003. It debuted in the number one spot with $16.2 million. In the just below it, you had Adam Sandler's Anger Management in its third week, bringing in $15 million. At number 3, a movie that I know this crowd likes, Holes, starring Shia LaBeouf.
Hey, everybody likes Holes.
Holes is great.
Dim Holes. That brought in 12.5 in its second week. At number 4, I guarantee a movie Garrett's watched at least 3 times. It's Malibu's Most Wanted.
Hate that movie, actually. Josh is a big Malibu's Most Wanted.
I like Malibu's Most Wanted, but I agree with you, David. It is wildly hard to believe that that's not one of Garrett's top 3 movies of all time. It fits every one of your things. Every one of your things.
Ever liked Jamie Kennedy. The only time I like Jamie Kennedy is Scream. I don't like Jamie Kennedy.
That is a Good Burger movie.
Exactly.
Right.
It is a grandma's boy. It is all those things.
Oh, I believe that. I just really don't like Jamie Kennedy. I've never.
That's respectable. Anyhow, at number 5, I don't actually know this movie, but a good chance Andrew will. It's called Confidence. At number 5 with $4.8 million.
Can't say that I did.
No, I don't even recognize any of the actors in it. Okay. So that's your top 5 for the weekend the movie released. Identity would go on to make $52.1 million in the United States, with $38.1 million coming in from overseas, giving it a worldwide total of $90.2 million, which easily eclipsed its $28 million budget. So a big success, and probably gave them a lot of confidence in the movie and James Mangold. for the year of 2003, we were here just recently for the number 1 film, which is The Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. At number 2 for the year 2003, you have Finding Nemo. At number 3, Pirates of the Caribbean: Black Pearl. At number 4, another movie we just watched, The Matrix Reloaded. At number 5, and these are domestic numbers, Bruce Almighty. Identity would fall in the number 57 spot, which I think all things considered isn't too bad for a movie with no franchise attachment, no real like your top build star is John Cusack. I mean, that's not too bad. Finishing just a few $100 million behind the movie Radio, starring
Cuba
Gooding Jr. And just under that is Underworld. So not bad. That's it for the box office numbers this week.
Nice.
We can move on to Letterboxd.
Yes. I think that's
David,
David
you're
too,
running
isn't
that.
it?
I think
Me
it's-
again, I won last week. On the
Yeah.
overall rankings, I'm just behind Josh. Josh has 9 wins. I have 7. Andrew and Garrett are just behind with 6. The big stakes on the line. Big
no.
stakes because the winner
It
of the
is big
Letterboxd
stakes.
game gets to pick what we start with next year.
Oh, I forgot about that.
Yeah, that's what the winner gets. So big stakes, big stakes. T-bones. So I have Identity pulled up here. This movie has been 54,000 have claimed to watch it. We have 29,000 reviews. What's everybody's guess? 29,000 ratings, I should say.
I think Letterboxd fans might enjoy this movie a little more than I did. So I'm going to guess a 3.4.
3.4 from Josh.
I'm going to say 3.1.
3.1.
Oh my God.
From Andrew.
You guys didn't even like this movie. And I gave it, in my initial rankings, a lower score than both of you. So now I got to rethink.
My personal score is lower than that.
Mm-hmm.
But
I know, that's why I'm stunned.
Well, you
And
got to
that's
play the
not
game.
all.
You got to think about
Well, I
Hey, you
was.
got to play the game.
where's
I
the aggregate
was.
going to come in? Where's the aggregate going to come in here?
Because I underplayed it based on my score.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'll do 3, I guess.
Even 3?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, for those of you who may not have seen the game before, the winner is going to be whoever's the closest, regardless of whether they go over or not. So the winner this week, unfortunately, is Josh. Bringing his total up to 10. It is a 3.3 on Letterboxd.
What?
A 3.3, which I think might be fair. I think that there's some good here. It's not quite bad. 54 people have put this in their top 4 movie spots, their favorite movie spot. So that's good for it.
all right.
I'll read off a top review here. No, that one's way too long. Give me a top review that's short. Okay. Davey22 says this was a pretty good mystery thriller. The characters were good. The story was really interesting. I did not expect it to go the direction it did. It was very suspenseful up until the reveal. But I thought it was a fairly good plot twist. Now let me find a bad review. I like to pull up a good review and a bad review. More. Review activity lowest first. Okay, here we go. From Orcs, this says it's worse. It's a worst. What the heck was written here? This is anyway. I'm gonna go with this next one. Words cannot describe how much I hate this film, and for Michael Cooney's plagiarism. I don't know what that means. There you go.
Stole
There's
it
some
from that
reviews.
guy. He had that same idea in 2003, and they stole it from him.
We've all been there.
Anyway, so those are some reviews from Letterboxd. Overall, 3.3. What would we rate it? I think I'm going to be the highest, so I'll start off. I'm at 3.5.
Okay.
I'm going to go 2.5.
2.5 from Andrew.
I'll split you. And
We
go
got
with
it.
3.
Right in the middle.
I also intended to go with a 3.
All right. We got to make a compilation. I know this is just making more work for either Josh or Garrett because they have the video editor. We got to make a compilation of Andrew just trashing movies only to give them 2.5 stars. Because he's like, this movie was awful. I was bored. I fell asleep. I'll give it a 2.5.
Yeah, Andrew doesn't have an actual scale, so
Yeah.
his star ratings don't necessarily mean anything because he doesn't weight them.
No.
It's just I mean, he might have a scale in his head, but like every one of my stars is equated with an adjective.
Yeah.
And that's how I use to describe. So when I say Identity, I say it's a good movie. Good is 3 stars.
Yeah.
Thus, it has 3 stars.
Yeah.
Andrew's most hated movie was, what was it? It was some random movie that, what was it? It was ridiculous. It was his least favorite movie. It was like the only thing that he gave a half star. And it was better than that.
Andrew.
It was Men in Black too.
Yeah, it was Men in Black 2.
hated
Men in Black 2 was your
2.
least favorite
And we
movie.
went, and the thing is, he spent all of our best of 2019 or our midway point of 2019 ragging on The Lion King, just talking about how it was awful, it was boring, it was a waste of time. He gave that movie 3 stars. Talking about
You
how it was
really
the
don't
worst
make
movie
any
of
sense.
2019.
There is no scale.
He hated it.
There is no scale. Like here, I want to know. This is we've tangented, but this is important. Are you basing it off of your entertainment or how good of a movie you think it is, being like on the technical aspect? Because your brain typically goes for the technical. And like, while you don't like The Lion King, I could see how you would give it that much for the technical achievements. But if you hate it and give it 3 stars, you're insane.
Yeah.
At least he's consistently inconsistent.
So okay.
So how do you rate your
it's-
movies?
It's
How do I
a
rate
compilation video.
If it
Yes.
keeps number 1, if it keeps my attention. Number 2, if the plotting is really good. And number 3, yes, technical aspects are, for me anyway, I pay very close attention to stuff like that
Sure.
because I like it. But
So okay, let me interrupt real quick. Because did Lion King keep your attention?
it did, but it was the same exact story.
So it was predictable, just like Identity.
Mm.
Yeah,
In your opinion, I don't feel like Identity is predictable, but
I feel like Identity was less predictable than The Lion King.
okay. So that should be a knock.
Yeah.
So this is a 3.
This is really weird. Like I'm
should be
like
a 3.5
reeling right
star.
now.
It doesn't make
You
sense.
did.
This should
You on your
be a
letterbox
3.5
review of
star
The
movie
Lion
by
King.
your own admission.
Yeah, 3.5 stars, and then you write my reaction underwhelming.
Yeah, that's
That makes no sense.
It
above
was
average.
so.
I mean, you wrote a lot more, but the point is
And
you
wait,
wrote underwhelming.
and then you said if the plotting is good, okay, I agree. But you also said that The Lion King was literally just The Lion King. So for a new movie to come out and it be the same exact thing as the old movie, then you should not be intrigued by the plotting because you already done seen it once.
Yeah.
But
So I'll give you the technical achievements, but based on your rating scale, you literally gave The Lion King 3.5 stars solely based on technical achievement.
Yes.
You make no sense.
Because
No.
okay. All right.
Why are we letting him talk?
Let me explain.
I need to know.
He can't answer.
I'm just curious.
We've evolved into a meeting at this point.
I just
Andrew.
know. That's why. Go ahead.
Let me try to explain.
It's too much. Let me sum up.
The Lion King, the reason why I gave The Lion King 3 stars, let me try to justify it. Because I don't even remember what I wrote. But I do remember that like
I
it
can
was
tell you. Go
underwhelming.
for it.
It was underwhelming in the regard that it was like there was nothing new about the plot. It's the same thing. If you watch the old Lion King, it's the same thing. You know, it's but it's like the old Lion King is way better than the new one. And the reason why is because the new Lion King, like, you don't get the emotion. You get no emotion whatsoever. And that's how I felt whenever I was watching it. It's like the CGI is fantastic. Like, the effects are fantastic. The sound is fantastic. There's a lot of fantastic elements about the new Lion King. This movie, what is it interesting? Not really.
Then why'd you give it to?
I will get. Like
You
I said,
like this is a circular thing. It will never be answered. It will never be answered. And we're an hour into this show, so I'm cutting it off. It's over. It is over.
Hang on, before we do, I just want to see if I can find his quick.
But I do want to assign Andrew some homework. You must come up with a rating system.
okay.
That is your homework. I don't care how it works. You do it your own way. But you need to have
absolutely.
a rating system to
I will make a chart.
fully explain. Make a chart. Make it complex. I don't care.
Make a chart.
Then it's gonna be.
I will make a chart, and that's that.
Because like we still got to spin the wheel. We still got stuff to do.
Oh yeah. Let's
Oh yeah, that whole spiel.
We will go back and forth of why did you pick 3.5 stars?
We will.
Okay, so we've done 2 movies. I guess we'll just still leave them on there because, I mean, I would say odds are we won't land on them, but we did last week. But if we do,
We
we'll
did
just do it
last week.
again.
We'll just respin. That's
Yep.
sometimes
So
gotta roll
what is
with it.
left? What is left on that wheel?
We've got The Exorcist,
That's from you,
The Frighteners,
from Andrew,
The Conjuring,
from me,
The Thing,
from David,
Sleepy Hollow,
from Andrew,
and Color Out of Space.
from me.
Yep.
So, out of
Damn,
curiosity,
easier.
I can't
Yes.
change one, can I?
Nope.
Never mind.
For fun though, what would you change into what?
I would change Sleepy Hollow to Misery.
Oh, that's a shame. We won't allow it, but that would have been a better choice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not allowed.
Yeah.
Well,
You're gonna
I'm on
make
that
us
side.
watch this
Tell you what
this
it is, yeah.
steampunk romance instead.
Steampunk romance. Normally that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it to where it's
that
at least
appeals to
kind of
Garrett's
visible.
crank sensibilities.
I'm trying to get it to where it's at least a little legible.
I can see it okay there
You see it? All right.
with my stuff maximized.
Oh no. The Thing.
Yay!
Yes.
2 Davids in a row.
Yeah.
David's gonna rule this month, I guess. I wonder if
I like it.
Andrew or I are ever gonna get a movie picked.
It's gonna be Garrett's next week.
It probably is going to be Garrett's next week.
I'm out at this point.
We'll make him work.
I like that there are no real rules for how we do Halloween or October, because like last year we just picked 2 movies there were 2-parters that were horror genre movies, and the year before that you guys just did all Halloween.
It's just whatever, man. It's just
No
whatever.
rules. Next year will be something different as well.
Right. And if we don't, this is a good system to replace that. So, Okay, so we will do John Carpenter's The Thing next week, a certified classic, I think.
Seems to be.
It's a cult classic.
Yeah, it
Yes,
didn't do
this
well
is-
when it first released, but it has since become really popular.
Mhm.
Yeah.
This is 1982. Kurt Russell, Wilford Brimley,
Yeah.
Just recently.
etc.
Makes me laugh every time.
Keith David.
Keith David, yeah.
Yeah. But this is John Carpenter. This is like one of the kings of horror. So
Mhm.
I'm looking forward to it.
I am excited.
With a little bit of a sci-fi twist, it'll be cool.
Yeah, yeah. So
I
check
do
out.
really want to watch that weird color. What was it? The color one that you?
Oh, I know. I do too. I want to watch it
Mm.
anyway.
Yeah,
The color
Of money.
I don't remember. Yeah.
color of money. The color
So
purple.
Maybe we'll watch that for fun if we don't land on it. So find us online. You can subscribe to our podcast in your favorite podcasting app. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, where you'll get to watch us yell at Andrew versus listen.
Always much more fun.
I think watching
You
is
gotta
You
see
can watch
Andrew.
my 100%
Make it redder
accurate
and redder.
impression of me snoring as Andrew.
Yeah. So find us there, and of course, follow us on social media: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're on all of those, and on Letterboxd. You can follow us there as well.
Yeah.
So we'll be back next week with the second half of Halloween month, The Thing. Till next time.
When's everybody's
Horrors don't
birthday?
I was gonna say horrors don't get second chances, and you come out with
Ah!
it.